Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
All right, and welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. All right, it is now Friday, end of the week, and let me tell you what we got going on for today. Today, obviously, we'll be talking about some quarterbacks. We had quarterbacks going to different places, their replacements coming in. We're going to talk about some guys who left to different teams and talk about their replacements. We're going to talk about who's going to have a better season. Okay? We had Alex Smith going over to Washington. He got booted out, so Patrick Mahomes could be the starting quarterback in Kansas City. Who's going to have the better season out of those two? All right? Case Keenum was told, you know what, you can leave. All right, we're going to replace you with Kirk Cousins. Who's going to have the better season out of Keenum and Cousins? How about over in Buffalo? They had Tyrod Taylor. He took them to the playoffs. Okay? Tyrod, we don't need your services anymore. How about you go ahead and leave? We got McCarron and Allen. Who's going to have the better season? Okay? I was trying to find a fourth, but we couldn't. Maybe we'll just have to talk about the rookie quarterbacks of this class. Talk about if there was one who was going to get some time in the season, who would have the best season. All right, but nonetheless, that's how the show's going to go. All right, we're going to be comparing because that's what we do in sports now. We compare everything. All right, and let's see. Let's start off with Buffalo and Cleveland, talking about Tyrod Taylor and McCarron and Allen. All right, so obviously, A.J. McCarron has never really done much, all right, over his NFL career. Same with Josh Allen, but of course Josh Allen has a reason. Has yet to take a snap in the NFL. Tyrod Taylor, to himself, has not done too much over his NFL career. He has made the playoffs once. Has lost that game. Alright, but nonetheless, never really done too much. Let's look at A.J. McCarron's playoff game log. Started against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Threw for 212 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. They only lost by 2 points. That was back in 2016. All right. Lost 18-16 to Pittsburgh. I think that was, what, a wild card game? It had to have been. Okay. But nonetheless, I mean, yeah, McCarron's never really had too much of an opportunity to how do you say, showcase his skills. Alright. Tyrod, on the other hand, has had opportunities. It's just either the teams he's played for haven't liked what they've seen, or just don't like Tyrod as a QB. Alright. Made the Pro Bowl in 2015. He's a quarterback for Buffalo. That year he threw for 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. 2016 throws for over 3,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions of this past year. He starts 14 games, throws for 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, nearly 2,800 yards. All right, Buffalo was the first opportunity he got to start, and I feel like he did well there. Okay? But, of course, I mean, I'm sure the Bills maybe wanted a quarterback where they're throwing for 400 yards a game type of thing. But necessarily, good quarterbacks are hard to come by. Okay? And for the Bills to have a at least decent quarterback on their team who took them to the playoffs and completely said, you know what, we don't need you. Go ahead and leave. We're going to start over with these guys. I mean, the Bills could have set their franchise back possibly a few years. Meaning, A.J. McCarron might not be the guy, and Josh Allen definitely could not be the guy. All right, that's a possibility. So now we're heading into the season. I mean, it's looking like A.J. McCarron is going to be the starter. Okay, and obviously Tyrod Taylor is going to be the starter for the Browns. And as far as who I think is going to have the better season, well, I mean, just look at it. Look at both teams. Who has something to work with and who doesn't? All right. Buffalo, as far as that offense, it's not necessarily something to be excited about. You got LaShawn McCoy. Who else? All right. Kelvin Benjamin. That's bleh. Jeremy Curley. Zay Jones didn't do anything last year. All right. I mean, looking at this team, it's not necessarily loaded with weapons on that team, on offense, okay? Your best player is LaShawn McCoy. After that, I mean, I guess it's Kelvin Benjamin. But are you necessarily happy about that? You got Charles Clay, Nick O'Leary there, both very solid tight ends. Well, decent tight ends, I'd say, but nothing that is going to excite you or scare the defense at all. Over in Cleveland, you got Jarvis Landry, Josh Gordon, Nick Chubb, Carlos Hyde, Duke Johnson, Corey Coleman, David Njoku. All right. Cleveland by far has the better offense than Buffalo. And like I said, Tyrod took that team to the playoffs last year. Who's to say he can't with this team this year? All right. And there's talk, I mean, of course, Baker Mayfield was taken number one by the Browns, but who's to say that he even reaches the field this season or even next season? Okay? You're going to tell me that, let's say the Browns go at least 8 wins this season, looking like a good team, barely miss out on the playoffs with Tyrod. You're going to tell me they're going to get rid of him? I mean, you know how dangerous that is for Cleveland, given the fact that they've been bad for 20 years? Right? They've been bad for 20 years, and you're going to tell me, oh, yeah, we're going to get rid of this guy, even though we nearly made the playoffs with him just to start the guy we drafted last year. Cleveland doesn't really have an option to do that. Okay? Cleveland's got to stick with whoever is going to get them wins. Because obviously, Kaiser couldn't do that. Tim Couch couldn't do that. Ken Dorsey couldn't do that. Johnny Manziel couldn't do that. Brandon Whedon couldn't. Jason Campbell couldn't. Let's see. I'm sure Colt McCoy was on that team. He couldn't. Josh McCown. I mean, the list goes on. All right. The Browns can't be picky here. Okay, as far as who they want as their quarterback. You got to stick with whoever is going to keep you from going 0-16. All right. But as far as like who's going to have the best season out of these two quarterbacks, it's got to be Tyrod Taylor. Okay. And, I mean, why wouldn't it be? Like, how could you expect A.J. McCarron or Josh Allen to be better than Tyrod Taylor this season? They have nothing to work with. All right, Josh Allen most likely won't even see the field this season. And if he does, that's due to the fact that A.J. McCarron was just that bad. All right, Tyrod Taylor actually has something to work with over in Cleveland. Wouldn't that be something, though, if, let's say Tyrod just lights it up with the Browns this season, all right? They make playoffs and all. They look like a good team. Tyrod's still a young quarterback. Are you going to keep Baker Mayfield as your backup quarterback going forward, or are you maybe going to try and look for some suitors? And again, I'm just throwing hypotheticals out here. I'm not sure that it's ever going to end that way, but of course, I mean, there is a possibility given the team that the Browns got. They could be a decent team this season and could make the playoffs. Okay. But yeah, I'm expecting Tyrod to be a whole lot better than A.J. McCarron and Josh Allen. It's just a point where, like I said, with Buffalo, they figured Tyrod's not the guy. That's fine. But you really better hope that Allen or McCarron is the guy, because if not, you had something good in Tyrod. Now it's just a matter of you're hoping you get it right in the next draft, and maybe the next draft or the draft after that. All right. And, I mean, expecting from both teams, I mean, I'm expecting the Bills to be pretty bad this season. Defense might keep them in some games, so we might see a couple of games where they end up stealing them. But nonetheless, I mean, their offense is brutal. And as far as the Browns go, I mean, you tend to want to think that they'll do well, given that they got a real solid talent, got a lot of talent around on that team. But it's just a point where you kind of just looking like, oh, wait, it's the Browns and stuff. We haven't gotten to the point where, yeah, on paper, Browns could be dangerous. All right, I'm not talking about like Super Bowl dangerous or anything like that, but they're gonna, how do you say, do well. All right, so we'll see what ends up going down, but nonetheless, yeah, I'd expect Tyrod has the better year here. I expect the Browns probably have the better record. All right. And, I mean, Josh Allen could be the guy for the Bills, but it's just a point where if I'm the head coach, I'm not even going to throw him out there this season. All right, let's try and build up a team for him rather than throw him out there, kill his confidence because he has no one to throw to. It's basically the same guys he had over at Wyoming. Okay? And like I said, I mean, Tyrod possibly could keep this starting job for years to come if he plays well enough. All right, so it's going to be really interesting to see exactly what goes down with both of these teams. But yeah, I expect Tyrod to have the better season out of him, McCarron and Allen. So we'll see what ends up going down. We'll see if the Bills were right about letting him go. But nonetheless, we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be talking about Kirk Cousins and Case Keenum. So stay tuned, and I will be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. Today, so far, we've talked about Josh Allen, AJ McCarron, and Tyrod Taylor. Talked about who's going to have the better season between, I guess, probably AJ McCarron and Tyrod Taylor, given the fact that AJ McCarron was likely going to be the starter week 1 for the Bills. And now we're going to be talking about Kirk Cousins and Case Keenum. Case Keenum this past season had the best year of his career, all right? And he's going to be 30 this season. All right, might even be 31. I have to double check. But nonetheless, I mean, looked good for the Vikings. They went to the NFC Championship game. They got blown out there. And the question was, what are they going to do at quarterback? All right. Were you going to bring back Teddy Bridgewater? Were you going to bring back Keenum to be the starter? Or were you going to look someplace else? Okay. And as far as it goes, I mean, watching last season, there was a lot of us who were waiting for Case Keenum to pretty much just have that one bad game where we were kind of like, we told you so, they should have started Teddy Bridgewater, or Keenum wasn't going to be able to keep this run up. All right. But it seemingly stopped. Like, people stopped looking for that and more so thought of Case Keenum as far as being a, how do you say, solid quarterback. Okay? And I think that he is one. Like I said, I mean, this is the first time that Case Keenum really got any sort of shot to show what kind of quarterback he could be. All right? Because, I mean, he got drafted by, I believe, the Texans. All right, got drafted by the Texans, didn't really get a shot there. Ends up going to the Rams. Still doesn't get much of an opportunity. All right, so let's see. Yeah, with the Texans, I mean, he did start 8 games in 2013, his second year. They went 0-8 in all those games. He completed 54% of his passes, 1,760 yards, 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. All right. 2014, he plays for 2 different teams. He starts 2 games with Houston. They go 2-0 in those ones at least. Those 435 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. 2015, he starts 5 games with the Rams. They go 3-2 in those games. 60% completion percentage, 828 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. 2016, he starts 9 games. They go 4-5. Completes 61% of his passes. All right, 9 touchdowns, 11 picks. And then 2017, his first year with Minnesota, is when he starts 14 games. He goes 11-3. All right, 67% completion percentage, 3,500 yards, 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. All right. And as far as those 2 games in the playoffs, let me look at those exactly. He, in the game against New Orleans, threw for 318 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Let's see, completed 62% of his passes, like I said. And then against the Eagles, he completes 58% of his passes for 271 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. All right. So, I mean, like I said, he had a real solid season last year. And with Case Keenum, like, my problem with him was that we never saw this over in Houston or St. Louis. Granted, those teams with Houston didn't really have too much talent. All right, and over in St. Louis, they didn't have much talent on that Rams team either. Okay. So, I mean, there's that. But also, I mean, do we expect him to play well over in Denver? All right. I'd say yes. Just given the fact that you got Demaryius Thomas, they drafted Courtland Sutton. You got Emmanuel Sanders still there. All right. As far as the running backs, they're not necessarily great or big names, but you got Royce Freeman that you drafted out of Oregon. Maybe Devontae Booker could be a solid player for them. And you still got that defense where most of them still in their prime, and I think they could get back to being the solid defense that they once were. All right. But like I said, I mean, it's just Minnesota decided to, I guess you could say, play the safer route here in the offseason. I mean, like I said, they did have their choice at bringing back Teddy Bridgewater. Did you really want to bring back a guy where he pretty much tore his knee to shreds, wasn't even sure if he's going to be able to play football again? Are you going to try and take a chance on him? All right. Even though he was a very good quarterback for you, are you going to take a chance on the guy who came to a new team and had the best year of his career there, even though it was with the offensive coordinator who ended up leaving to take a head coaching job? Or you could try and go after that Kirk Cousins guy, which they tried to do it. All right. And I think that going after Kirk Cousins was probably the right move. I mean, it remains to be seen given the fact that we can't really give a definitive decision until we see whether or not he plays well with that team. All right. But like I said, they did take the safer route there. You can't trust one-year wonder-type quarterbacks. All right. And I guess, like I said, it remains to be seen whether or not Case Keenum is a one-year wonder type of quarterback. But chances are he probably will be. All right. Spent the first 6 years of his career not really doing much. Then he comes over to Minnesota, and all of a sudden he's a great quarterback. Can you trust that? Probably not. All right. Denver is a team who the last couple of years have had bad quarterbacks. They don't really necessarily have a opportunity to just go out and take a chance on a rookie. All right, they need a guy at least who has shown that he could do something with some good players. Denver has some good players. Now they just need the quarterback. And Case Keenum, I think, will be a decent one for them. All right. But it's just a matter of, I guess, now who do you think is going to have the better season between the two, Kirk Cousins or Case Keenum? All right. And, I mean, it's a matter of both could do well. Both are pretty similar in terms of their stats from this past season. All right, let me see. Who did the Vikings got this season as far as tough matchups? All right. Obviously, you got to play everyone in your division twice. You got to play the Eagles, the Rams, all right, the Saints, the Pats, So it's not relatively difficult. I mean, you got to play the Seahawks, but they shouldn't be as tough as they've been. All right. You probably got the best team in your division. You got to play the AFC East, which besides New England isn't relatively strong. All right. So, I mean, they should be decent as far as this season. As far as the top secondaries, they got to play LA, Philly. Okay. Let's see, who else? The Saints. Miami's going to have a tough little secondary. Detroit's got one, so you got to play them twice. So it's about 6 teams with tough secondaries there. Buffalo also, so 7, I should say. All right. And then looking at Denver's schedule, what tough teams do they got? You got to play the NFC West. The only tough team there is really, as far as for Denver, is the Rams. I mean, they're kind of on level with the 49ers a bit. Seahawks don't really scare me, like I said. Cardinals are decent. Then you got to play the Ravens. They're going to be easy a team. The Jets are going to be an easy team to face off with. I mean, their division, there's not relatively too many great teams besides the Chargers, I'd say. Chiefs could be really good, but it's just a matter of how well Pat Mahomes plays. So, yeah, the Broncos don't necessarily have that tough of a schedule. All right. Well, I feel that Cousins is the better quarterback, and he's got the better players around him. So I'd say that Cousins is most likely going to have the better season. And this isn't just like a wins and losses type of thing, but also, I mean, as far as stats and all that. All right, because looking at Kirk Cousins, I mean, he's been at least statistically, I'd say, a top 10 quarterback since he became a full-time starter. All right. Now, you might disagree, but nonetheless, I think the stats back it up. And let's look at him right here. All right, because this past season, he's only made the Pro Bowl once. This past season, he threw for 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Let's see, 2016, he threw for nearly 5,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, 12 picks. 2015, completes nearly 70% of his passes for 4,100 yards, 29 touchdowns, 11 picks. 2014, 13, and 12, he didn't really get too much of an opportunity. All right. But nonetheless, I mean, I'd say that, yeah, Kirk Cousins is probably more primed to have the better season this upcoming year. All right. Keenum's going to be good this season, I feel, but it's just Cousins got Diggs. He's got Thielen. He's got Rudolph. He's got a solid offensive line. Cook should be good this season. All right. So he's going to have a lot more to work with rather than Keenum. It's a matter of can this Denver Broncos team get back to what they once were. With the Vikings, we already know we're going to get good. Broncos might have to pretty much, pretty much just get back into the fold of things. Just get warmed up a bit, you know? So it'll be interesting to see who has the better season. This is one thing I'm kind of paying attention to, too. There's a lot of quarterbacks who are in, with new teams and stuff, but it's just a matter of now we're going to see if they could outplay the guys that went out and replaced them with their old teams. All right. Like I said, next up, it's going to be Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes. That's one really to look forward to, given the fact that, you pretty much knew Mahomes was going to be replacing Smith, all right, since last season. Now it's happened. Now we're going to see what Alex Smith can do with the Redskins. Now we're going to see what Mahomes can do with the Chiefs. So it'll be interesting. But nonetheless, we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, like I said, we'll be talking about Smith and Mahomes. So stay tuned for that, and I will be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. So far today, we've been talking about quarterbacks who were replaced, now with new spots, talked about who would have better seasons, them or their replacements. All right, we've talked Tyrod Taylor, A.J. McCarron. We've talked Kirk Cousins and Case Keenum. Now we're going to talk about probably my favorite one, Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes. Okay. Last year in the draft, Patrick Mahomes was taken, 11th, I think, or 10th by the Chiefs. And we all knew what that meant. All right. That was signaling the end of the Alex Smith era in Kansas City. All right. That era ended with a terrible playoff loss, one that they probably should have won. All right. They were up, 21-0? Ended up losing 22-21, I believe it was. I'm not going to put that one on Alex Smith. I think that was a bit of an Andy Reid problem there. Okay. I mean, when your best player gets hurt, normally you give the ball to your other best player, especially up 21, which is your running back. But Reid decided it'd be a good idea to only give him the ball 11 times in that game, which I don't understand. Maybe Andy Reid was just trying to get ready for his vacation a little bit earlier. Who knows? Okay. But nonetheless, Alex Smith in Kansas City is no more. And I mean, I feel like he did well in Kansas City. His first year in Kansas City was 2013. They go 11-4 in his starts. He started only 15 games that year. Threw for 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. The year after that, they go 8-7 in his 15 starts. 3,200 yards, 18 touchdowns, 6 picks. 2015, they go 11-5. Throws for 3,400 yards, 20 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. 2016, they go 11-4 in his 15 starts. 3,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. And then this past year was his best with Kansas City, I'd say, where he started 15 games. They went 9-6. All right. Throws for 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 67% completion percentage. Probably the best year of his career there. Okay. Most touchdowns he's ever thrown in his in a regular season game, or a regular season, like in a season. Okay. And after that season, the Chiefs felt, it's time to get rid of Alex. All right. I mean, that's their decision. They spent the last 4 or 5 or so years, however many it was, with him, and figured, he's not the guy for that team. All right. They played playoffs a couple times, but seemingly couldn't get over the hump. Okay, and let's look at Alex Smith's playoff numbers. All right. So let's see. He went to the playoffs with the 49ers back in 2011. Won one, lost one. That was the Kyle Williams game where he fumbled the punt. All right. 2013 was his first year with the Chiefs in the playoffs. That was the one where they were beating up on Indianapolis. And Indianapolis came back and won that one 45-44. In that game, Smith threw for 378 yards, 4 touchdowns, 65% completion percentage, threw 46 passes. I mean, you can't blame that one on Alex Smith. Okay. 2015, they beat Houston 30-0. Smith throws for 190 yards, touchdown, interception. Doesn't matter. I mean, there's nothing Houston could do in that game. Against New England in the next matchup, they lose 27-20. He throws 50 passes, 58% completion percentage, 246 yards, 1 touchdown. The year after that, 2016, they play Pittsburgh. They lose 18-16. Smith completes 58% of his passes, 172 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. And then in 2017, that's the game against Tennessee. They lose 22-21. All right, Smith completes 72% of his passes for 264 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, Smith wasn't necessarily bad in any of those playoff games except for maybe one. Okay. But of course, Kansas City felt we're not getting anywhere with this guy, so we're going to trade him away. And he got traded away to the Redskins. I like that fit. Okay. I think that Smith is going to be fine in Washington, and I think that Washington is going to be a decent team with Alex Smith. All right. And, I mean, as far as the Chiefs go, they must have a lot of trust in Mahomes. All right. And maybe it's just trust in Andy Reid, because, of course, Andy Reid has done well over his head coaching career to make quarterbacks look great. All right. And I think that Mahomes is a quarterback who's got all the tools, and it's just a matter of Reed needs to find his potential and pretty much the talent in order to develop it. But as far as who you think's going to have the better season, I mean, it'd have to be Alex Smith, right? I mean, I don't see a way where Patrick Mahomes ends up outplaying Alex Smith. Alex Smith's the guy who's been in the league since, 2005? All right, didn't he get picked in that Aaron Rodgers draft? He's the one who went before Aaron Rodgers. All right, isn't that just a wild thing to talk about, too? How we can look back and we'll see what teams missed out on what great players and whatnot. But nonetheless, he's been in the league since 2005. And it's not like he's over in Washington with nothing to work with. Okay, Washington does have talent on that team. Obviously, it's not the best or whatnot, but nonetheless, I mean, you got Smith at quarterback. I think Darius Geis is going to be a very good running back for this team. The rookie out of LSU, easily going to be the best running back on that team. You're going to be getting Chris Thompson back, who I think is going to be perfect for Alex Smith if Thompson's back healthy. All right, and as far as the receivers, you got Jamison Crowder, who I think is a solid receiver. Josh Dotson, who is going to be coming into his third year. All right, just needs a bit more development. And then you got Paul Richardson, who you signed over from Seattle. I'm sure they're expecting him to have a big role with this team. Then at tight end, you got Jordan Reed, Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis was all right this past season. He's 34, though. He's about as old as you can be. Jordan Reed is only 27. All right. Jordan Reed's barely hitting his prime, but the poor guy just can't stay healthy. Okay? He can't stay healthy at all, and that's pretty much why he's probably only got about 4 more years left, unless this year's different for him. All right? But nonetheless, I mean, yeah, I think the Redskins got a very decent team. Okay? Obviously, they're not the best team in the NFC East or anything like that, but you got a solid offensive line, you got decent receivers, and you got a very promising running back. All right, defense, I think, can be decent this season. They brought in Zach Brown, brought him back, I should say. All right, you got Ryan Kerrigan still there. Pernell McPhee. Let's see. Cornerbacks, yeah, Josh Norman still. Orlando Scandrick, but he's a bit old. We'll see what's going on there with that secondary, but nonetheless, I mean, Washington could surprise some people this season. I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. I was shocked at it, I should say. All right. And looking at their schedule, let's see. I don't think it's a relatively tough schedule unless I'm not remembering correctly. All right. Of course, you got to play Philly twice, which is going to be tough. Dallas is going to be tough. I mean, Dallas kind of scared me with their little receivers and all, but nonetheless, the Giants should be better too. Let's see. You got to play the Packers. You got to play the Saints. Who else do they got going on? The Saints, Panthers, Falcons, basically the NFC South. You got to play the AFC South, which is going to be tough. So they do have a lot of good teams on the schedule. Let's see, the weakest opponent they'll be playing is probably going to be either Tampa Bay or Arizona. All right, or the Colts if you want to say that. And even then, so, I mean, those teams are pretty decent. Colts are going to be getting back Andrew Luck. Tampa Bay, obviously, they're going to be without Jameis for the first 3 games of the season, but nonetheless, he will be playing once the Washington meets up with the Bucks. All right, but nonetheless, I mean, like I said, I do think that Alex Smith's going to have a better season than Patrick Mahomes. With Patrick Mahomes, it's just a matter of we haven't seen the guy play yet so far in the NFL. Okay, can we definitively say, oh yeah, this guy's going to be better than this guy? I mean, I'm assuming it's all just guessing there. All right. As far as who the tough teams the Chargers got to play, or the Chiefs got to play, you got to play the Chargers twice. Denver's going to be better. You got to play Pittsburgh. You got to play the Jags. Let's see. You got to play the NFC East with the Rams. 49ers are going to be tough. Chiefs don't necessarily have the toughest schedule. I will say that. All right. Browns should be a decent team. You got to play the Patriots also. Those games are usually fun given the fact that Kansas City always blows them out, but who knows if they could do that without Alex Smith. All right. But I mean, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be a good quarterback for the Chiefs. I think Smith's going to do fine with the Redskins. It's just a matter of maybe both teams needed this. All right, Chiefs, I guess you could say, knew they weren't going to win a Super Bowl with Smith. Redskins, this is good to replace Cousins with at least a decent quarterback. And like I said, I think Smith is at least a near top 10 quarterback. He might be 11, he might be 12th, but nonetheless, I think he can do a job, and he does it well in the NFL. All right. But I think Smith did get a bit of a raw deal over with the Chiefs, just given the fact that, I mean, was he really bad? Like, he wasn't bad with the Chiefs or anything like that. But, of course, the Chiefs probably felt, you know what, we got to make some changes. All right, so we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be talking about anything else going on in the world of football. I mean, we do got some players, quarterbacks who are going to be replaced pretty soon. Joe Flacco, guys like that. So maybe we'll talk about him. But nonetheless, we're going to wrap it up here. So stay tuned for the next segment, and I will be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. So far today, we've talked about Tyrod Taylor, AJ McCarron, we've talked Kirk Cousins, Case Keenum, and then Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes. Basically talked about who's going to have a better season, the new quarterback coming in or the guy, pretty much the guy that got replaced or the guy that replaced him. All right. We'll see what ends up happening there. I mean, I figure that Smith's going to have a better season than Mahomes. I figure that Cousins will probably have a better season than Keenum. And then I figure that Tyrod's probably going to have a better season than either Josh Allen or AJ McCarron. Doesn't really matter who it is to me. All right. But nonetheless, for this segment, I mean, pretty much talking about anything else going on. As far as these other rookie quarterbacks like Sam Darnold and all those guys, I mean, do we expect any of them really to see the field this season? Darnold's a guy who possibly could, but that's only if McCown or... I mean, I don't really see it. All right, I'm curious to see how that quarterback situation's really working out. I mean, are they going to carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster, or are they going to stick with 2? All right. And obviously, you got Teddy Bridgewater out there. Teddy Bridgewater, I guess, has looked good so far in OTAs and mandatory minicamp. All right, let's say that Bridgewater comes out. You see him in training camp, preseason. He's playing great. I mean, are you really going to cut him? I'd say no. I mean, you really can't cut just Josh McCown because he's already getting $10 million guaranteed. All right. So do you just sit Darnold down as the third quarterback the entire season? Because it's not like you could put him on the practice squad, because I'm almost positive that teams can... Yeah, you can't put him on the practice squad. All right. So I think the Jets, they might just have to shut down Darnold as far as being the third quarterback and then just let Bridgewater and McCown fight for as far as who's going to be the starter and the backup, I guess. All right, so I don't really see Darnold playing too much this season, if at all. Josh Rosen could get some time this season. All right, maybe. I don't know. If Mike Glennon's on that roster by week 1, then Rosen's probably not going to play at all. All right. And the only way Rosen would play is if Bradford ends up getting hurt. Glennon comes in. Glennon's terrible as the backup. And that's the only way you see Josh Rosen, is if every option before him is exhausted and neither's working. Okay, Lamar Jackson, I don't see him getting any time this season either. I mean, it kind of makes no sense to sign RG3 and to play Lamar Jackson. I think this is a year where you pretty much just sit Lamar Jackson down, have him be the third quarterback, develop, read the playbook and all that. And if Flacco goes down and he's not playing great, then you throw RG3 out there instead of Lamar Jackson. I think that should be the plan for the Ravens. All right, let's see. As far as Josh Allen, I mean, he could play, but there's just a point where I don't think any of these teams really want to play their rookie quarterbacks this season. I think it's one where you want to see them all develop. All right. And as far as Baker Mayfield, I mean, I don't see him playing this season either. I mean, he could be a guy where Tyrod Taylor is just good enough to where they sign him to a couple-year deal. Let Baker Mayfield sit behind him even more. Of course. All right, because the Browns could be decent this season. Do not sleep on the Browns. All right. They got talent. But there's just a point we're going to have to wait and see. I mean, like, today's theme has been pretty much guys who got replaced. Flacco, is he going to be a guy who's replaced? Like, Flacco's going to get replaced, I think, after this season, but is the team going to take on Joe Flacco after this upcoming season? Let's say if he leaves the Ravens. You'd have to assume that some team's going to need a quarterback after this season, right? I mean, let's look at the teams right now. Dallas has got their future quarterback. The Giants, they could be taking a quarterback. Maybe they could trade up in the draft next year. Eagles got their quarterback. Redskins got their quarterback long-term. The Bears got their quarterback long-term, it looks. Same with Detroit. Green Bay, of course. Minnesota does. Atlanta does. Carolina does. Saints, maybe they could bring in. I don't see them. No. Breeze is going to be there for a couple of years, so they're not in the Joe Flacco market. Tampa Bay, I think they're going to stick with Jameis. All right. Arizona, they got Josh Rosen. Rams have got Goff. 49ers got Garoppolo. Seahawks got Wilson. Buffalo's got Allen, so that's about a few years left. Miami, they could be in the Joe Flacco sweepstakes if Tannehill doesn't play well this season. Maybe you draft a quarterback and have Flacco play ahead of him. All right, so that's a possibility for Flacco in 2019. Patriots, I don't see that unless Brady just retires. New York, they got Darnold. Like I said, Flacco's going to be out of Baltimore probably after this season. Cincinnati's got Dalton. Cleveland's got their quarterbacks. Pittsburgh's got theirs. AFC South, Texans got Watson. Colts got Luck, but let's say that Luck doesn't really play well this season. You could tell that his shoulder injury is one that he's not going to be able to get over. I could see Flacco over in Indianapolis. Jacksonville, they got Bortles for a couple more years. Tennessee's got Mariota, and I think they like Mariota, as they should. Denver, you got Keenum. Keenum doesn't play well. Maybe you go with Flacco. All right, 2019. Kansas City's got Mahomes. Chargers got Rivers still. He's not going anywhere. And then, of course, the Raiders still got Carr. So, I mean, there's only about maybe 2 teams, 3 possibly, where I could see Flacco playing next season. All right, after this upcoming season, I should say. And Flacco, he's not like the greatest quarterback or anything like that. Sure, he's got a Super Bowl, but nonetheless, since then, he hasn't really done much. All right. But, yeah, I think this is one of the first times in a while where teams should be happy about their quarterback situation. And of course, you got the Colts who are pretty, I guess, worried about it, just given the fact that you want Luck to be fine. But of course, what I'm saying is they got their starting quarterback. Miami's got their starting quarterback. The Jets, at least, think they have their starting quarterback. These teams that drafted quarterbacks this year, I'm sure, think that they got their guys. All right, of course, some of them aren't going to work out. And, I mean, there's not too many great quarterbacks out there right now. There's a lot of decent ones, I'd say. All right, so it's going to be real interesting to see what ends up happening this season, especially with Flacco, too. Because like I said, I mean, he didn't play well. You're probably going to see RG3. I mean, what do we think of RG3? Think he's going to play well with the Ravens when he comes out and is able to play? Actually, the question is, do you think RG3 can gain a starting job with a team in the future? Like, do you think he will? All right, I'm sure he's got the talent still and all that, but do you think a team's going to take a chance on RG3 and say, you know what, yeah, you are starting quarterback going forward? I mean, it's not like RG3 has really played too long in the NFL. He's still going to be about 26 probably. All right. Let me see if I can find out how old he is. I know he's 28. Okay. He's 28. Let's see. Been in the league since 2012. Did not play 2015. Barely played 2014. Didn't really play too much 2013. I mean, we played 13 games. Started 13 games. So, and then 2016 didn't really play much either. So he took this past season off. So, I mean, he's taking 2015, 2017 off. Maybe he could get back to it. Who knows? All right. But that draft class has kind of taken a turn for the worse, I'd say, that 2012 class. Andrew Luck dealt with a shoulder injury. All right. RG3's been injured for pretty much his entire career so far. Tannehill blew out his knee. So, We'll see what ends up going down there. Let's see anything else going on in the world of football right now. I don't think there's really too much. Like I said, Jameis Winston got suspended for 3 games, or he's going to be. That's going to hurt the Bucs, but, I mean, is Jameis Winston the guy for the Bucs? Is that their franchise quarterback? Or do they maybe need to start rethinking it? All right. Because, of course, he's got the tools, but just getting suspended with stuff like this and all, are we sure he's matured enough to be the franchise quarterback of this team? I'm not entirely sure of it. Okay. I think he is. And I think I'd take him on my team if he was available. But it's just a point where Jameis Winston finally needs to start putting it together and needs to play well. All right? Needs to take care of the off-the-field stuff. Needs to take care of the on-the-field stuff. I mean, your starting quarterback getting suspended for the first 3 games of the season isn't necessarily something you want to have happen. Now it's the Ryan Fitzpatrick experience for 3 games. It's going to be 3 games where, let's see exactly who the Bucs are playing for those first 3 games. All right. They got the Saints, Eagles, and Steelers. Tampa Bay is going 0-3 in their first 3 games. All right. And, I mean, you lose those 3 games. Then you got to play the Falcons, obviously, again. Their schedule is relatively difficult, I'd say. So you lose those 3 games, still got a chance to make playoffs. But even then, not too many teams, I'd assume, have gone 0-3 and have made the playoffs still. So we'll see what ends up going down. I mean, 1-2 in those 3 games without Jameis would be, I guess, a success. So like I said, we'll see what ends up going down. But we're going to wrap it up here. Today we talked about some little rivalries, all right, meaning between guys who got replaced and their replacements. Talked about who'd have a better season between Tyrod and McCarron. Talked about that between Keenum and Cousins. Also Smith and Mahomes. And then for this one, talked about Joe Flacco a bit and Jameis Winston. So we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast. As always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. I will be back on Monday, so stay tuned, and I will talk to you guys later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.